She was minutes away from saying "I do" when she overheard her groom planning her betrayal. But instead of breaking down, she walked back into that wedding with a plan that would leave everyone speechless. The gentle chime of laughter floated through the bridal suite as Sophia sat before the mirror, her hands resting lightly on her belly. The white gown fit like a dream, and her heart fluttered not only from the excitement of her wedding day, but also from the secret she carried. She was 2 months pregnant. It was supposed to be her happiest day. After years of heartbreak and doubt, she believed she had found safety in Lucas. Charming, ambitious, thoughtful Lucas. She had even written a short note to surprise him that night. "We're going to be parents." But fate had its own cruel timing. The ceremony was only an hour away when she noticed Lucas hadn't been seen for a while. "Has anyone checked on him?" she asked one of the attendants. The best man shrugged, busy with guests. Worried he might be overwhelmed or nervous, Sophia decided to check on him herself. She lifted her gown and hurried down the quiet corridor leading to the groom's lounge. Her heart beat fast, part excitement, part curiosity. The door was slightly ajar. She smiled faintly, ready to tease him for hiding away on their big day. But before she could knock, voices drifted out. Lucas's smooth, confident tone filled the room. "Once this wedding's over, I'll finally have control of her father's company account. It's been a long wait, but it'll pay off. Sophia's too trusting to suspect anything." Sophia froze. Her breath caught in her throat as another voice, a woman's, purred in response. "You're unbelievable, Lucas. You're marrying her just for that?" Sophia peered through the gap. There, lounging casually beside him, was Vanessa, his business associate, the same woman who had smiled warmly at her during the rehearsal dinner. Lucas laughed softly. "Don't look so shocked. I know what I'm doing. Once I've secured the deal and moved some of the assets, I'll find a way out of the marriage. She's sweet, but not exactly exciting. You, on the other hand?" Vanessa giggled, brushing her fingers across his sleeve. "You're terrible." Sophia's heart shattered in her chest. She stumbled back, gripping the wall for balance. The bouquet in her hand slipped and fell soundlessly to the carpet. Her phone was already in her palm. She had come with it to take a few photos, and with trembling fingers, she pressed record. Lucas's words continued, cutting deep like glass. "If she ever gets pregnant, that would make things easier. A perfect picture of a happy couple, long enough for me to get what I want. Then I'll disappear. She'll move on." Tears filled Sophia's eyes. Pregnant! The irony hit her like thunder. She clutched her belly protectively, feeling her heart pulse beneath her palm. She wanted to burst into that room, scream, throw the truth at him. But something inside her stopped her. No, not now, not here. There was power in silence, power in waiting. With quiet steps, she turned away and walked back to her suite. Her reflection in the mirror looked the same, but she wasn't the same woman anymore. Her tears dried into resolve. If Lucas thought she was weak, he was about to learn what strength truly looked like. She would walk down that aisle. She would play her part perfectly. And when the time came, she would give him the wedding and revenge of a lifetime. The wedding hall shimmered with gold and white, a perfect reflection of joy, elegance, and promise. Guests whispered excitedly as the soft tune of violins filled the air. But in the quiet of the bridal lounge, Sophia sat motionless, her veil resting on the table beside her. Her heart thudded dully, not from excitement anymore, but from a deep, burning pain that threatened to consume her. Just minutes ago, she had listened to the man she loved, the father of the child growing within her, plan her destruction for profit. Her trembling fingers brushed across her belly. "You'll not grow up seeing your mother broken," she whispered. "Not today. Not ever." Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were no longer tears of weakness. They were the final drops of innocence washing away. Sophia stood, steadying herself in front of the mirror. The reflection that stared back wasn't a trembling bride. It was a woman reborn in fire. The wedding would go on, but not as Lucas expected. Today, he would wear his own shame before the world. Minutes later, the grand doors opened and everyone rose. Murmurs of admiration filled the room as Sophia walked in. Graceful, composed, breathtaking. No one could sense the storm beneath her calm. Lucas stood at the altar, flashing his perfect smile. He extended his hand. "You look incredible," he whispered. "Thank you," she replied, her tone cool but polite. The ceremony began. The priest's voice echoed, solemn and sacred.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Sophia barely heard the words. Her eyes drifted across the faces of their families, friends, business partners, all the people who believed Lucas was the perfect gentleman. How easily he had deceived them all. Then came the vows. Do you, Lucas, take Sophia to be your lawfully wedded wife? Lucas smiled confidently. I do. Applause rippled through the hall. Cameras flashed. The priest turned to Sophia. And do you, Sophia, take Lucas? She raised a hand gently, stopping him. The crowd hushed. Sophia took a deep breath, her heart pounding against her ribs. Before I answer that, there's something everyone here should hear. A murmur swept through the audience. Lucas's smile faltered slightly. Sophia reached into her bouquet and pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen, and Lucas's voice filled the church speakers, cold and unmistakable. Once this wedding's over, I'll finally have control of her father's company account. Sophia's too trusting to suspect anything. If she ends up pregnant, even better. That'll make it look more real before I leave. Gasps erupted. Lucas froze, color draining from his face. Stop this, he hissed under his breath. Sophia, what are you doing? But she stepped back, her voice clear and steady. I'm showing everyone the man behind the smile. Her gaze swept the stunned audience. This is the person I almost married. A man who planned to ruin my family, who plotted betrayal even as he smiled at me. Lucas tried to speak, but every word turned to stammering nonsense as whispers grew louder. Cameras flashed again, this time not for celebration, but scandal. Sophia's father rose slowly, his expression a mix of fury and heartbreak. Lucas, is this true? He didn't answer. He couldn't. Sophia turned back to the priest. Her voice softened. So, to your question, Father, no, I do not. Then she turned to Lucas, her tone cutting like glass. I will not marry a man without honor, but thank you for revealing the strength I didn't know I had. With poise that silenced the hall, Sophia lifted her gown slightly and walked down the aisle, every step echoing with liberation. Outside, the sunlight struck her face, warm and golden. She exhaled deeply, a hand resting on her stomach. "We did it, little one," she whispered. "We're free." Behind her, the church was in chaos. Guests murmuring, Lucas shouting in humiliation, reporters already snapping photos. But Sophia didn't look back. She had already reclaimed her story. The story of the runaway bride who exposed her groom swept through the city like wildfire. Within hours, videos of Sophia's confrontation filled every social feed. Her calm voice, her bravery, her unforgettable words. "I will not marry a man without honor." People called it bold, daring, legendary. But for Sophia, the days that followed were quieter, filled not with applause, but with the hard, private work of healing. She had walked away from everything: the wedding, the mansion, the illusion of love. Now she lived in her small apartment overlooking the city, where she spent her mornings watching the sunrise, one hand on her growing belly. At first, the whispers hurt. The pity in people's eyes stung. But each time the baby kicked, Sophia found new strength. "We're gonna be fine," she would whisper. "You and I will turn this pain into purpose." Months passed, and the noise faded. Lucas's world crumbled publicly. Business deals canceled, his reputation shattered. Sophia never needed to lift another finger. His own greed had buried him. Meanwhile, she poured her energy into something new: the Grace Foundation, a support network for women who had faced betrayal, abuse, and manipulation. She began mentoring young women, sharing her story privately at first, then openly on stage. "Pain can break you," she told one audience, her voice calm and glowing. "Or it can shape you into someone unstoppable." I chose the latter. The applause that followed wasn't just for her. It was for every woman who had ever found courage to start again. The day she went into labor was calm and golden. Rain drizzled softly outside the hospital window as Sophia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. When the nurse placed him in her arms, tears filled her eyes, not of sorrow, but of profound gratitude. She named him Eli, meaning "my God." As she cradled him, she whispered, "You're my beginning, not my ending." A year later, Sophia stood backstage at a women's leadership conference. The crowd beyond the curtain was larger than any she'd ever seen. She was no longer the broken bride everyone pitied. She was the founder, speaker, and heart behind a movement that had helped hundreds of women reclaim their dignity. Her story, once soaked in betrayal, had become a beacon of triumph. When she stepped onto the stage, the lights bathed her in warmth. She smiled, calm, radiant, at peace. "I once thought my world had ended on the day I said, 'I do not,'" she began. "But that day, I actually said, 'I will. I will live. I will rise. I will not let betrayal define me.' Today, I stand before you not as a victim, but as a woman reborn." The hall erupted in applause, and as the lights softened, Sophia looked upward, whispering a silent prayer of thanks for her strength, for her freedom, and for the little heartbeat that had kept her going when she had nothing else. Outside the hall later that evening, she walked hand in hand with Eli, now toddling beside her. He giggled, chasing the sunset's glow, and Sophia laughed, a deep, unburdened sound that came from the soul. She had loved, lost, and risen, and in doing so, she had become the very definition of triumph. Because sometimes the most beautiful beginnings are born from the ashes of heartbreak.
And that was how Sophia turned betrayal into destiny. On the very day meant to shatter her, she found the courage to rise. She chose truth over pretense, dignity over deceit, and strength over silence. The world expected a broken bride, but she became a symbol of resilience. Her tears birthed purpose. Her scars gave life to a story that healed others. And as she held her son close,
Beneath the golden sunset, Sophia proved a timeless truth that sometimes life's cruelest endings are only the beginning of our greatest triumphs. Because in every woman lies the power to rise again and rewrite her story. And that was how Sophia turned betrayal into her greatest triumph. She walked away from lies, carrying truth, strength, and a new beginning. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away with your dignity intact and rise stronger than ever. This is Triumph Legends, where every story reminds you your pain can become your power.